Power scaling is probably one of the most controversial ways to spend your time online, other than role-playing as anime characters in Discord voice chat, I guess. The point is, people tend to get sick of power scalers because they often try to inject their way of having fun into conversations where they weren't invited. People will just be having a conversation, saying, oh, it'd be cool to see Spider-Man take on some of Batman's villains, talking about different dynamics of the characters, what they might have, only for a legion of goobers to bust the door down and start shouting, actually, Spider-Man solos. He would curb stomp Bane, negative difficulty. He'd splatter the Joker with one punch. Like, bro, that was not the point of the conversation at all. You are so annoying. I'm sure every single one of you has experienced hyping up a character you like, only for one of those cave dwellers to come stomping in screaming, don't care, Goku solos. Which sucks, because if you're like me, you might actually think seeing which character is stronger can be kind of fun. I like to ask if Sonic the Hedgehog could fight Frieza, or if Link from Legend of Zelda would be able to beat Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen. You just gotta recognize that there is a time and place for it, and not try to force it on people outside of the community. That said, power scalers are not all bad. Sometimes they have the best online community of them all. It's time to talk about the kind of nonsense they get up to on Twitter. Let me introduce you to the world of agenda and slander. Let's say you're a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, and your favorite character is Megumi. You think his shadow powers are cool, and when he unleashed Maharaga in Season 2, it was your favorite part of the whole show. So you, an innocent fool, decide to type up a little tweet. Megumi is so cool, I can't wait until he masters his domain expansion, and suddenly, the ground beneath you begins to shake, and the smell of sulfur fills the air, as you're accosted by a wave of pre-made memes from dozens of accounts, each carefully crafted to make your favorite character look as weak and pathetic as possible. You like Megumi? I think you mean Potential Man, because he has the potential to rival Gojo, but we all know he never will. Always if and when, but never is. We call him 007. 0 feats, 0 relevance, and 7 kamikaze attempts. Oh, and just to polish it all off, here's an edit where he's old and fat and washed up. Seeing something like this for the first time would probably baffle you until you see this image in the replies. This is all part of a unique and special element of power scaling culture: slander. It's one thing to have a serious discussion using math and logic to find out who would win in a fight, but sometimes it's way more fun to rage bait people by pretending their favorite character is a loser and a bum who would get dog-walked by the Paw Patrol. What's that? You think Akainu from One Piece is a cool villain? Well, here's a picture of him hiding in his office from Zoro. Or the classic: pick any matchup and portray your opponent's pick as a sick little coughing baby, while your guy is a hydrogen bomb. At the end of the day, it's all about maintaining the agenda, pushing a narrative about a character's strength and general coolness as a way of entertaining yourself. And now that we've got the basics out of the way, I want to tell you an incredible story. The YouTube series Death Battle did a video on Deku from MHA versus Miles Morales' Spider-Man, which was a ridiculous matchup. If you don't know, Deku can punch hard enough to change the weather and blow apart mountains, while Miles is struggling to bring down a building. The video itself was amazing, and they picked the characters for the matchup based way more on thematic pairing than it being a close fight, but the power scalers did not care. This was a prime opportunity to cook up some fresh slander. Of course Deku would seek out Miles to fight. He could never tussle with a real main character like Goku or Naruto. He's afraid of actually strong opponents, so he has to bully street-tier characters in order to win. And that is all it took. Here's Deku walking into McDonald's looking for women and children to bully, or pissing himself when he can't find any street-tier opponents, running away when things actually start to get serious. But then there was a vibe shift. People got the joke and they started to iterate on it. Deku's not just afraid of strong guys to fight, he's insane. He's a psychopath looking for weak people to tear apart like Daredevil or Black Widow. We got these crazy-ass edits where he's cackling like the Joker as he hunts down average human-powered characters. And then it mutated even further. Deku's not just a villain who kills street tiers, he's got a superpower that lets him beat anybody in a fight, just so long as they're standing on a street. Remember how he was afraid of Goku just a minute ago? Well, here's one single frame from Dragon Ball Super where Goku is standing on a crosswalk, meaning he is dead meat, ready to be thrown into the Deku-shaped meat grinder. Forget Spider-Man, he can take the entire Marvel multiverse now, as long as they're standing on the street. His streets. It got to the point where people started treating the street like a stand from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But that is the nature of agenda. It discriminates against everything except what's funny. And this was the funniest way this whole story could have evolved. I mean, at the end of the day, a street is just a path, right? And what makes a path is super vague. Even being alive means you're on a path to the future. So no matter who you are or where you are, to Deku, you are always on a street. You are always street tier. Okay, that's really stupid. Let's pivot for a second. You know who pretty much everyone hates? Wanda stans. Fans of Scarlet Witch from Marvel. They are absolutely the annoying kind of power scaler I mentioned at the top of the video, always butting into conversations to glaze Wanda as the most powerful character in fiction, a lot like people do with Goku. This is also to a lesser extent true about Jean Grey fans, by the way, but Wanda stans are the worst because it's personal to them. Much like Wanda Maximoff, most of them are also sad, lonely women married to a robot with vibration powers. And because of that, they need her to be the gaslighting, gatekeeping girl boss with omniversal dominion over all of causality. So they love to post the same 3 comic panels that imply as much, usually ignoring all the evidence to the contrary. Of course, Batman fans do the same thing, so this shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, unfortunately, Wanda stan Twitter has no idea how to stay in their lane. When the Fantastic Four movie came out this summer, a bunch of people started hyping up Franklin Richards, the son of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, a baby who was born with the power cosmic, a seriously busted reality warper. Of course, hearing the words strong, reality, and warp in a single sentence activated the Wanda stans like the Winter Soldier, and they began their crusade to gas up their queen like usual, downplaying Franklin's powers as much as possible. Little did they know, they had opened the floodgates. They entered into an entirely new realm of slander that they were woefully unprepared for. Power scalers quickly assembled to form a new agenda. Wanda is a weakling who gets curb stomped by a baby. And let me tell you, it was glorious. They created the most amazing art and edits depicting this laughing, giggling infant as an eldritch entity neither Wanda nor Jean Grey could ever hold a candle to, a lot of the times drawing little Franklin in the place of busted JJK characters like Gojo or Sukuna. The tables were flipped. Franklin was the hydrogen baby and Wanda was the coughing bomb, and the stans hated it. This piece is particularly good, showing Wanda and Jean crashing out and shitting themselves in fear while Franklin just goes, ah! Honestly, I kind of feel bad for Jean stans. They were never as annoying as Wanda stans, but they caught a lot of the heat. Even this great spin on Potential Man, Resurrection Woman. She dies and is reborn but never actually develops. Brutal stuff. This all continued for a while, depicting Wanda and her fans as trembling in fear before the might of an infant who loves Cocomelon. Even Herbie the robot could kick her ass. Nowhere was safe. I particularly love this one where Franklin locks in and turns Wanda into Bluey. This truly was one of those you had to be there internet moments, but one thing you should definitely take away from all this is that it was a complete blowout. The power-scaling sons came ready for war, the exact kind of thing they do to each other all the time. It was so much fun, the agenda started to evolve again. Some people played along, saying that Franklin was multiversal, but he's weaker than his mom because she can beat him by taking away his Roblox, meaning every single Franklin upscale is secretly a Sue Storm upscale as well. And in that same vein, Franklin idolizes Spider-Man and will do anything he asks, which means it's also a Spider-Man upscale. Invisible Woman and Spider-Man both no diff Scarlet Witch. It's just simple math. Cry about it. So, to recap, Spider-Man gets upscaled to Outerversal because he's the one Sue calls when Franklin isn't eating his veggies. If the Hydrogen Baby idolizes Spidey, and Peter Parker is roughly as powerful as Miles Morales, that's a Miles upscale. And we already know Deku is stronger than Miles from the Death Battle, which means at the end of the day, Scarlet Witch isn't even street tier. Insane slander. Unfortunately, Wanda stans are lame and couldn't play along. They weren't used to such a coordinated agenda attack and gave up, claiming the whole thing was actually about misogyny, probably the most boring and disappointing response they could have chosen. But that did not go over well with everybody who had just been having fun and memeing. This joke Twitter beef now turning into a real character attack? A couple people even tried to earnestly explain. They wanted the Wanda stans to fight back, to play along, and not take things so seriously. After all, that's the reason they were so annoying in the first place. Power Scalers were so disappointed with the response, they actually started Friendly Fire, creating their own anti-Franklin memes just to keep the beef going. And of course, it was all hilarious. I mean, he's a baby, for God's sake. You just take away his cocoa melon and he crumbles to dust, right? Some of these were awesome. Destroying Franklin by erasing his vaccines from existence. It was like taking the original Agenda campaign and multiplying it by its inverse, reverse agenda technique. And then it evolved even further, and they started slandering the beef itself, making fun of the fact that it could have taken off as a legendary battle, but sputtered out into a simple PvP zone where the stands refused to participate. But finally, once the fun started to die down and the meme river started to run dry, we got a wholesome conclusion. This artist showed Franklin beating Wanda and Jean in a fight because they are his aunties and they're just pretending. Genuinely really cute. And of course, we brought it all home with the place where this newest wave of slander started, Deku. Franklin is the hydrogen baby, but could he win if he's fighting Deku on a street? The idea was fun, but nothing tops this. Street tier Deku teaming up with baby Franklin. Since Franklin is a reality warper, if Deku wears him like a toddler backpack, he can perpetually change Deku's environment into a street, so he always wins. This is what power scaling is all about. Stay frosty.